The views and opinions expressed by the guests, callers, and hosts on this and all Rense Radio Network programs do not necessarily reflect or agree with those of the network, its commercial sponsors, its radio station affiliates, or internet broadcast platforms. In these controversial times, we believe the First Amendment and freedom of the press are absolutely essential to the survival of our nation. Thank you. And now, enjoy the program.
Okay, welcome back. It's Tuesday night. Hope you had a good day today. As we move on tomorrow night, in all likelihood, will be Wednesday already. Just amazing. September rolling right along. We're going to have talk about an amazing first hour guest tonight, and I suspect we might not get through nearly enough material, and I'll invite him back, and he's certainly invited back, but we'll see how he feels about that. Let me read you an introduction about Mr. Zachary King. This is a story that is a story and a story and a story, and it is frightening. Now, as I've said before over the years, there is something very ugly on this planet, very evil, very dark. You're seeing it now in the stories of pedophilia in England at the highest levels of government. You're beginning to see them over here from time to time. I call it the cult. It is a worldwide organization of satanic evil. It preys upon little children. It destroys their lives. It steals their childhood. It does the most horrific things to them. Very few make it back to normalcy. Some live normal lives. Some actually go on to create remarkable successes. But generally speaking, when you do that much damage to the psyche of a little child, 4, 5, 6 years old, it's over. Now, Zachary King has been through pretty much all of it. Let me read this. An average boy in an average American neighborhood. Zachary King grew up in a Baptist home. He began practicing magic, with a G, at 10 years of age. He joined a satanic coven at 13 years of age and had broken all 10 commandments by 15 years of age. From his teen years to adulthood, he worked his way up to High Wizard in the coven and actively pushed Satan's agenda, including ritualistic abortions and breaking up churches and more. Zach attended, get this one, the Bohemian Grove over 15 times. But then in 2008 at a shopping mall, he had a life-changing experience of peace that surpasses all understanding, the peace of the Prince of Peace himself, Jesus Christ. Zachary was rescued from the hell of Satanism, and after 26 years in the occult, the secret, Zachary became a warrior for Christ and shares his knowledge for the protection of God's people. And you can go to his website and take a look. There is so much to this story. It is really amazing. It's a major motion picture, truly, in my view. Zachary, welcome to the program.
Yes, thanks for having me.
My pleasure, sir. You have led 2 lives, at least.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. Let's go back to the beginning here. What was it about Satan and satanic occult practices that got you involved in the first place? Practicing magic, M-A-G-I-C-K, at 10 years of age. What was that?
Well, magic with a K is different than magic that ends in a C. Magic that ends in a C is like, well, I'm going to age myself, but Doug Henning, card tricks, illusion, stuff you would find at like a child's birthday.
And this is M-A-G-I-C-K. Got it.
Right. C-K ends, that's satanic magic. So it spells hexes. Voodoo would be that, Santeria, Egyptian-type magic. It originally, Aleister Crowley named it, and everybody, the name is just kind of stuck, so that you can still practice magic. There's regular magic that ends in the C is harmless.
Sure.
If it ends in a K, it's, very deadly. When I was 10 years old, there was a game at school called Bloody Mary, or I Hate You, Bloody Mary. And it would be a group of kids gathered in the bathroom, turn out the lights, and chant this over and over again.
Bloody Mary, I hate you, Bloody Mary.
Right.
All right.
And a scary face would appear in the mirror. And, this was before holographic flashlights or anything like that. So, and then if everybody left out of fear and panic, kids would just run out the door, the face would still be there. I would know this because I would stay there. I'd be like, whoa, this is cool. Who knew you could do something like that? And we were told that it was like a spirit, like a person had died, and they would appear because you're calling their name or whatever. And they would.
What did it look like? Was it like three-dimensional? Was there depth to the mirror at that point? Was it turning, or was it flat one-dimensional?
It looked as if there was somebody looking in the mirror, and the reflection was shining back.
In other words, on your side of the mirror, looking into the mirror, and the reflection was coming back at all of you kids.
Right.
But you couldn't see the person amongst you who perhaps was standing there looking into the mirror. Okay.
Right. But when you're 10 years old, that's hella scary. And
oh, that's damn scary. Wow.
That's damn scary. Yeah. So all the kids would run out. And the first time I saw it, I was like, whoa. And the first time I saw it, I ran out with everybody else. And then later, the second or third time I did it, I was like, oh, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to see what happens.
So you guys would go in there, you kids, boys and girls, I guess there were boys and girls.
Yeah, it was both.
Okay, and you would make this chant, and each time the same face would show up or a different face?
The same face. As far as I could tell, it looked, it wasn't a particularly happy face.
Wouldn't think so.
To me, being a kid, I kind of equated it to, there's different types of dogs, and each dog looks different. And some dogs are cute and cuddly, and some are just plain ugly. They can't help looking the way they do.
Right.
Although dogs look ugly to me. Well, it can't help. It was born with that face.
Correct.
It can't help the way it looks. It's still a friendly dog. Well, this thing can't help what it was born with. This is the face it's got. It didn't try and talk. It didn't communicate in any way. It just looked.
Did it look alive to you? Was it blinking? Was it moving in any way, shape, or form, or was it just there?
It was just there, and it just kind of looked like, it had like a snarl, but again, bulldogs have a snarl. That doesn't mean they're mad. And it looked like it could have been maybe a burn victim. It just looked like it had been the victim of something bad. And, so we all thought it was a spirit of a dead person. We didn't realize that
a ghost.
We were doing a magic spell and that we were conjuring a demon. We had no idea of that.
Oh, all right. Did you have an idea where in your group this person would have been standing to reflect where it was that you saw it?
It would have had to have been with us because it was...
In amongst you?
Yeah, in amongst us.
Mm-hmm.
And it was such a horrible... at my school, so many people did it. It happened so much. It had gone through the entire school. And this was in, I guess it was in elementary because we were, I think, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade.
What do you mean it had gone through the entire school? At different bathrooms? There were different kids chanting like this, and they were bringing up this...
Yeah, it was so prevalent. It was so prevalent. And there was kids that got hurt because in the panic to leave the room, like some kids got trampled. We're talking like broken arm, broken leg kind of thing, that the school sent notes home with all the kids that said if your kid was caught playing this in the bathroom, they would be suspended for like 3 days.
The chant game, or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just...
So as kids will, they'll pick up and monkey see, monkey do, and let's try that, okay. And then when it happens, they freak. Right,
but from what I hear, it doesn't work. Like, not everybody got it to work, which is kind of a praise God situation because you need 3 things to make a magic spell work. Intention and repetition are 2, and we definitely had those because everybody wanted that face, and everybody made the chant over and over again. The 3rd ingredient you need is a demonic presence. So if you do it and you don't get it, then it's kind of like praise God, there's no demon there.
Got it.
You know,
I wonder what the demon was hanging out at the elementary school for, in the bathrooms. Interesting.
Well, I would think that, one, having it be called like that probably enters a different realm than, you know, demons don't exactly look at a building.
He didn't hang out in the building is what I was going to go there. In other words, we're talking about a different dimension, so to speak.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
As well, I mean, they're looking to corrupt whatever they can, and corruption of a child is like Satan's number one goal. You know, that and slapping God in the face. I mean, if he can slap God in the face with an innocent child being ruined in some way, you know, he's joyous.
Mm-hmm. Okay, all right. That's elementary school. I'm going to jump ahead. Go ahead. No, you go ahead, Zach.
Well, I was also playing regular campaigns of Dungeons and Dragons when I was a kid. And that I was always the wizard or the sorcerer. And what eventually happened is that I got to thinking, I was a big fan of magic movies in the 70s, you know, the B movies and things, you know, Christopher Lee and all that, you know.
Sure.
So I started thinking, could I do a magic spell for real? You know, could that really work? You know, and my parents all were like, no, magic's fake, none of that stuff works. And all adults took the same point of view. Now, none of the adults I talked to had obviously read the Bible, because there's like 8 references in there to not doing magic. You know, that how dangerous it is.
How did the Bible spell it? How does the Bible spell it?
They actually call it sorcery.
Okay.
So they don't list it as magic. They mention divination, emulating your loved ones in the fire, which is like tossing them into the fire and you know, like into like Moloch, you know, the gaping mouth with the fire inside of it, and killing babies and things that way. But you know, like I said, there's like in the Old Testament you're stoned to death, and in the New Testament you don't inherit the kingdom of God if you do these things. So apparently none of these people I asked had read the Bible, or they would have given me a warning. And the Bible doesn't warn you against things that aren't real. So, but I didn't know about any of those things, and I was like, okay, I want to know once and for all, am I wasting my time? I mean, this is fun, but what if I'm just wasting my time? I could be doing something else. So I thought, I'm going to do a real spell. I'm going to do it for money. I mean, it took a lot of contemplation to figure out what could I do where no one gets hurt. You know, I don't want to hurt somebody. I just want to know, is this stuff real? So I did a magic spell for money, and the next day I found a can of tennis balls with a $5 bill in it. And I thought,
a can of what?
Tennis balls.
Okay.
There's a canister that had 3 tennis balls and a $5 bill.
Nice.
And this is 1976.
Did you ask for the money, is that it, and then did the spell, and then you found the next day the canister of tennis balls? You didn't engage in anybody, with anyone. You just did the spell.
I did it by myself because I was 10 years old and a little geek, and I'm already made fun of for being a geek. I don't need to be made fun of because I did magic too.
Wow.
You know, because I believed in something that was superstitious.
Uh-huh.
So I did the spell. I did a $5 bill and a can of tennis balls, and I'm thinking, okay, that's more money than I had yesterday, but anybody could have found that can of tennis balls. You know, this could be just a coincidence. So the following week, I did the spell again. Same way. Found a $10 bill the next day. All right.
And was it in a canister of tennis balls?
No, it was just on the side of the road. I was walking down the road and found a $10 bill. Just
where did you find the spell to use?
In D&D books. In the 70s, the D&D books are different than they are now. Now, you play with a 20-sided die. You have a dungeon master in the room that helps you do all your stuff. If you roll the die, say you're doing something for money or for light or whatever it is that you need, you roll the die and you score like a 15 or higher, then your magic spell works. Well, back in that day, your magic spell was in this book, and you would, as much as you could emulate what it tells you to do, you would do those things. And then you would roll your die. And if you've done your spell to completion, then even if you scored low on the die, your spell would still come true to some extent because you did it.
What did you ask for in your spell? You remember?
Money. Money. I asked for just money. I wasn't specific on how much. I just
A new theme, money. All right. I got it.
You know, and this was 1976, so penny candy is a penny. Candy bars are 20 cents. Comic books are like 15 to 20 cents.
Oh, you had some bucks, yeah.
You know, and these are things that I'm into as a little nerdy kid, so, you know, I'm like, hey, I'm scoring big here. But still could have been a coincidence. Anybody could have found that $10. So the next time I did it, I upped the ante. I took the spell, everything into the bathroom. I did my spell. Then
bathroom at home or bathroom at school?
Yeah, bathroom at home.
All right.
I had started doing the Bloody Mary thing at home because I didn't want to get caught at school and get suspended. And my dad had already asked me to call me into the den. My dad used to be a Marine. My dad called me into the den, and in the gruffest voice he could muster, said, "You're not doing this, are you?" You know, and me being a good Baptist church-going boy, I told him absolutely the truth and said, "No, Dad, I would never do that."
That's right.
Terrified my dad. So I did the spell, and then I did the Bloody Mary thing, and this face showed up. And then I completed my money spell and tried to get the point across as much as I could. I mean, I took cash into the bathroom with me. I'm showing it to this thing in the mirror, you know, letting it know that I'm doing a spell for money and see what happens. You know, so the next day...
you called up the face in the mirror, the demonic presence. You showed him the money. You told him what you were going to do, and he just stared there, one or two dimensional, didn't move, but he was there.
Right.
All right. Go ahead.
So I finish up, I put everything away, and the next day I go out and play. I'm in this big parking lot the next day, and something catches my eye, and I run over to it, and it looks like Monopoly money rolled up really tight in rubber bands. So I stick that in my pocket, and I go about playing. And then later that night, I discover it again, and I was like, oh yeah, I got to figure out what that is. So everybody goes to bed, and I'm sitting on the bed under the sheet, flashlight in my mouth, unraveling what I got, saying, you know, what is this great treasure I've got? So after taking all the rubber bands off, I'm looking at a $100 bill. And then I unwrapped everything, and I had 10 $100 bills. So I'm 10 years old, with everything as cheap as I said it was.
You're growing up in a hurry at 10, Zach.
And I'm worth $1,000. And I've got the knowledge that I can do this every day if I want. At 10 years old, I'm thinking things like, man, by the time I'm 15, I could own a Lamborghini. You know, I could have everything. I could have anything I wanted. And, you know, knowing that, I decided that, you know, all my friends saw that I was constantly, I had like, you know, a couple years later, I had like all the Kiss albums. You know, and I always had whatever.
You always had bucks. I got it.
Yeah. I always had bucks. Yeah, I always had something. You know, and my parents were not the type that would just willy-nilly blow money on me and just buy whatever I wanted. So my friends were like, how are you able to get that? And I was like, well, you know, I have a method, and I can share that method with you, but you have to give me a percentage of what I get you.
What a smart man. At 10, 12 years old. Jeez, this is incredible.
You know, like I tell people, I could have easily just told them, this is what you do, go in the bathroom and do it, but how would that benefit me?
No, Zachary, you're already playing the angles at 10. Wow.
Well, you know, you're 10 years old, and Satan, everybody, no matter what age you are, when you start thinking that you can take advantage of Satan, which you're not, he's taking advantage of you, but everybody wants power or money. And it's what it comes down to. Everybody wants power or money.
Well, you know, these Hollywood celebrities, Katy Perry, Miley Cyrus, they're on videotape saying they have sold their souls to Satan in exchange for celebrity, or whatever word they use.
Right. There's also, like Beyonce and...
she's another one.
Nicki Minaj, who says that they become possessed when they're on stage, and it's them that's doing all the acting.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah.
It's actually impossible to sell your soul, but Satan lies to you. You know, I express it like this. Jeff, you're a celebrity of sorts, so you must know somebody that has an awesome car. I mean, just a car that you look at and you think, okay, maybe I wouldn't own that, but I'd like to drive it. You know, maybe you know somebody that has a Lamborghini or a Ferrari. can you legally sell me their car?
Pretty tough act to try to pull off.
Right. Well, the reason you can't do that is because you don't own it. Now, that's the same reason.
Got no title. Can't sell it without a title.
Right. Well, that's the same reason that you can't sell your soul. You don't own it. God died for you. Jesus paid the ultimate price for you on the cross. You, therefore, cannot sell your soul. Now, the devil will lie and say that he owns your soul and he's got it for eternity. What he has is your will.
He'll have that for as long. He'll have that for as long, basically, as you allow it.
Right. And at any time, you can turn to God, get forgiveness, and your will goes back to God. Now, that doesn't mean that Satan will leave you alone. On your deathbed, as you're slipping out the door, Satan will be right there on your pillow going, I've got your soul, you're going to burn in hell. And in your last dying breath, flip him off and tell him to go to hell instead. You're safe. As long as your will is with God, you don't have anything to worry about.
Wow, fascinating. So it is possible that we could lose Katy Perry and Miley Cyrus, and a great loss for entertainment. That's what you say. I see. No, you made your point very clear. Thank you. We're going to go through the break, Todd, on this. I want to make sure I get enough time with Zachary. Talking with Zachary King, a man who has led an extraordinary life. Is there a book on your website about this? Have you written a book?
I have not. Well, what happened is I wrote a book, and then my spiritual director got it for 11 months and said, you have to split this into 2 books. You can't just put it out one, and then the second book is done, but I have to put the first book out first.
All right, will you let me know when you want to launch these books? I will help you do it on this program.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. We'll have you back and go through this. And this all ties in with evil that is in every nook and cranny, basically, on this planet now, and is the driving force behind international banking, money, wars, you name it, evil of all shapes and sizes, especially the entertainment industry, which is used to ensnare countless tens and hundreds of millions of people. It's a remarkable business. And these people, like Nicki Minaj and, Miley Cyrus, clearly something has happened to them, something major. This isn't just an act. Something's going on there. Do you see it for what it is? Can you tell us what it is? What has happened to these people?
Well, they've been sold a bag of lies, basically, and they bought it. I mean, if I was of the sort that I wanted, like in the past, I wanted power and money, and I would have done anything to get it, and I did. These people are like the same way. They want to be loved. Clearly, if you're an entertainer of certain types, you have some kind of a mental disorder to want to be in the public eye every single minute of your day. And nobody should want that, and these people have this burning desire. I want people to look at me. I want people to worship me. I want everybody to love me.
Well, you've just described the Kardashians perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah, clearly there's something wrong with that family.
Yeah.
All of them.
Yes, sir.
One in particular more than probably the rest.
One in particular. Yeah. Yeah. Jeez.
So they have this burning desire, and God doesn't want you to be famous. He wants to get you into heaven. That's his goal, is to get you into heaven. Satan's goal is to keep you out of heaven. So whatever he can give you, whatever distraction he can give you that you want, he's willing. But everything that he gives you comes with a price. It's like you're giving your will to him. You're willing to lead people away from God for the devil. You're not literally selling your soul, but you are selling your soul. And
you're certainly leasing it out. Yeah.
Right. You're allowing the devil to take foothold. Now, these people that have all this money are not happy. And if you hear the interviews with them and they tell you, it's like, well, I'm in counseling or I have to take this type of class, or I'm, my life just sucks, and you're thinking, wait a minute, you've got...
They do complain like that sometimes, and it does strange things to their bodies. Look what it did to Miley Cyrus' tongue, for example.
I'm unfamiliar with that. What happened?
That was a joke. It sticks out all the time in odd angles.
Right. I've also noticed that her body twerks a lot, and it's like, you're possessed there?
Yeah, that too. Okay, now let me move with your young life to this issue of by the age of 15, you had broken all 10 commandments.
I joined an actual satanic coven. I started going to a satanic coven when I was 12. People had told me that there was a group of people that played D&D every weekend like I did, but they believed magic was real. And that's what I was kind of telling people, that I did magic, and I could do this for these people too. Prior to doing the magic, I was like, I'm never telling anybody how to do this. After I'm doing it and I'm rolling in cash, I'm like, well, I might as well be honest about what I'm doing. So I started hanging out with this group, and this group was like a satanic coven set up to recruit kids. I was, like I said, a geek, so I loved science fiction and things like that, fantasy.
Excuse me, Zach, how did you meet these people? Where did you run into them?
I had a friend at school, same age as me, told me that he had played D&D at these guys' house, and he asked me if I knew them. And I said no. And he says, well, they play D&D like religiously. Every Saturday there's always a campaign, and that they also believe that magic was real, and they would use real magic spells in their stuff. And sometimes if they did like a spell for light, you would actually see light just emanate in the room. Like it would get really bright in the room. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. Or like they would do a spell for money or something, and you would find money in the backyard or in the front yard. And it was like, okay, I mean, it could be fake, but, it could be working.
Were you looked up to by your peers at that age as being someone who had learned and discovered some really amazing things?
No, I was looked at as kind of a freak, and I was still, I was kind of avoided by the good kids anyway.
Did you scare them, Zachary, do you think? In some ways?
I think I scared them on some level. I mean, I've been avoided by some group of kids all my life because I was this little nerdy, if we had electronics back then, that'd have been me. Like I'm a member of the math club or the chess club. So we don't have a lot of friends. We have each other.
Understood.
So then, when I start becoming a little cooler, when I start having a lot of cash, then it's still like, well, okay, I'd like to be your friend because you seem to have some money, but how did you get it? Well, through magic. Well, okay, all right. So, it's still kind of standoffish, which didn't matter to me because it was like, I still have a lot of people that now hang around me because I have money.
Right.
And I'm attracting the kind of people that I kind of wished liked me, but, now they're like really attracted to me. So
right. Were you still going to Baptist church at this time?
Yes. I was still going. I went till I was about 16 years old or 17. And my dad was kind of like very adamant that no matter what, I was always to go to the Baptist church. But at some point, I was very upset with them, probably by the time I was about 13, because every single service had to do with money. They would somehow work. I didn't mind the offertory. I understand the offertory. The church has got to survive.
Sure,
got to pay everybody. I got that.
Yeah.
But when every single service, no matter what the Bible verse was, they would make it be about money. I mean, you've got the shortest verse in the Bible, Jesus wept. Well, they bring up Jesus wept because he saw the future state of the church and saw that people didn't give them enough money. So when I was probably almost 17, I told my dad, because the radio show was broadcast in the morning live, and over the radio, and I said, okay, if they mention money one more time, I'm walking out. I'll just walk home. You don't have to come get me. I'll just be home in like 15 or 20 minutes. my dad was like, no, you need to give them a chance. I was like, I've given them a chance for 16 years of my life. I'm tired of hearing this message. So on a particular Sunday, sat there during the service, the guy said, the sermon's about money. I got up and walked out. When I got home, my mother was like, oh, your dad's furious. I was like, why? And he said, because he heard them talking about money and he knew you'd be home. And I was like, well, he's not furious with me, is he? Like, yes, he is. I was like, well, I'm not the one that made him talk about money. I'm just the one that reacted to it. So, yeah, I was still going to my church up until that point. But I found out these guys, going there, they had, as I said, I was a fan of science fiction and fantasy, so they had, like, every science fiction and fantasy movie ever made. They had an in-ground pool, a huge barbecue pit.
Now, who are these people?
These people they're the group that does
the cult.
D&D campaigns. Yeah, the cult, except I don't realize that's what they are. I mean, I loved pinball machines and video games back then, and they had them. They had, like, real pinball machines, not like the Sears pinball machine, but like they went to Bally's and actually bought a real pinball machine.
Wow, that's a real deal. I got to ask you a question at this point, please. You're 16, 17. You've been dabbling in the occult for 7 years approximately. Had you ever, by that time, come into contact with any sexual depravity, activity, brutality, abuse, anything like that from any of these people involved in this stuff?
Well,
if it's private, you don't have to tell me if it's private.
Well, when I was 11 years old, I was the victim of a sexual assault at the hands of a female teacher at school, and I didn't have it's not like today when you can look up porn anywhere. Back in that day, 1977, the dirty magazines were behind the counter under it, so I couldn't even see them. I didn't know that kind of stuff existed.
Okay.
I didn't have words to describe what happened to me, and I thought what happened to me might be a dirty word, but I knew that I couldn't say that to my dad and not be punished.
Did this teacher do this just once to you, or was there a repeat?
Yeah, she just did it once. But she put me in such a state of mind that I was, like, traumatized, and I just, to me, the only thing I could do was more magic. More magic made me feel powerful. So that's what I did. Of course. Well, at 12 years old, I haven't officially entered the cult yet, but they told me that I'd been going to it for quite a bit, and at some point they had told me that a kid told me that I was in a satanic cult, and I was like, "There's no way this is a satanic cult. I've seen the movies from the 60s and 70s; those are scary. This isn't scary. They let me have anything I want to do, I can do here." So I talked to an adult. He tells me I am in a satanic cult, but I'm not a full member. I still have to do a couple more things. So I'm like, okay, so what are those things? And sure, I'd like to be a member. But what also happened to me when I was 12 years old was that somebody came to me and they said, we know that you were a victim of this sexual assault when you were 11, and that was traumatic for you. But, that was traumatic for you because a woman came to you, she didn't ask your permission, and she took something from you by force. And I'm like, right, I guess I'm following you so far. And they're like, well, that felt good, right? I mean, it did feel good, right? And I was like, yeah. They're like, well, wouldn't you like to do that whenever you want? Like, you can say no. You have the power to say no. But you also have the power to say, I want that. So I was like, to me, they presented it like I was getting my power back.
Oh, like very interesting.
I was taking control.
Yeah, I follow you.
Control. I could do it.
Yeah.
And I said yes. So I was re-victimized again for about the next 5 years. Because I did that from 12 to probably late 16. I had sex with kids my own age and adults. And I was filmed. It was kiddie porn. Yeah. But I was willing to do it because I was like, well, I've got the power now. I can at any point stop this and walk away and say, I don't want to do it. Which rarely happens. But, I thought, well, I'm this all-powerful guy. I can do what I want. I'm having sex now. Right. And when you're getting sin, especially when you're young, you're like, well, if I leave this cult, I'm not going to have sex anymore. I'm not going to have, all these things that I didn't have before.
Were these all all taking place at the cult, or were some of them at the school? Was it at any of it? What was the venue for these?
It's either at the coven house, which was somebody's house, or we would go to neighboring towns, and you would just, you know why you're going. You know that, well, today you're going to have sex with these girls here at this place, and then later you're going to have sex with these men over here, and, you know, these are the different, you know, venues that we're going to go to. There was another cult that got busted by the police because they were having children have sex with adults, and I guess they were too vocal about it. And they let too many people know, and I guess a cop infiltrated their group, and they all got arrested. And that group was actually...
What happens, in my opinion, and my understanding of it, I may be wrong, Zachary King, but the cult has penetrated pretty much every governmental organization, police department, legal system, judges, politics. It's to be found most everywhere. We can go back to the McMartin preschool thing, the Franklin Institute scan. Yeah, all that. That was all true. Boys Town, all of it. It's everywhere, and it's now proliferating, in my opinion, from what I've been able to gather, just from listening. It was never talked about 25 years ago, and now it's talked about commonly. I mean, you've got House of Lords members, ministers of Parliament in England, dozens of them, who were involved in this kind of pedophilia, and worse. So, yeah, I'm following you.
What's really appalling is that we buy the lies that Satan sells us. I mean, like, Satan, like, in many levels, Satan has convinced the world he doesn't exist. So, if Satan doesn't exist, then there's really no point in being wary of anything New Age or anything satanic, because those aren't real. You know, you're just giving something a title because you're scared of it, or you're worried about it, but there's no real reason. Now, one of the other things, I do work with a counselor that deals with SRA, satanic ritual abuse. Remember that if you look that up on, like, do a Google search, it'll come up on Wikipedia as it was proven false in the 80s. There's no such thing as SRA.
No, it's quite real.
You know, and it's like, well, I guess if Satan's not real, if Satan doesn't exist, then you'd have to take out satanic of that. If there's nothing satanic, then it's not ritual, you know, it's not ritual.
Right.
So there's no such thing as SRA, and it's like, you forgot the abuse part. That part's still real.
Well, you remember the McMartin case with Ted Gunderson was trying to unearth that, bring that to the attention of the media, and he didn't get too far.
Yeah, I was pretty young when that happened, but yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah. Okay, let me tell you right now, we're not going to get through anywhere where we need to get through, and you're going to have to come back if you would be so kind. We still have about 10 minutes left, so let's just keep moving ahead, and we'll stop where we need to stop, and if you would be able to come back, you are certainly welcome, and we'll continue. This is a remarkable story. So, okay, thank you for sharing that. I don't know that was all that easy to do, but you're a very honest man, and we appreciate that. So, carry on.
Well, at 13, I was starting to, that's when I officially become a Satanist. I asked them what I needed to do. They said there's 13 steps to being a Satanist. There's 13 if you're an adult, 13 if you're a child, but they're different. If you're a child, your 13 steps just chip away at your innocence. And everything is your free will. They ask you if you want this. They ask you if you want that. And obviously everything you're answering is yes, because you're having fun. I mean, if sin wasn't fun, we wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And, so they said, you've done almost all the steps already. You just have a few final things to go. And in that final things was that I had to cut my thumb and sign a document in my own blood. On the document, it says, the blood of Jesus washes away all sin, but not mine. Jesus died for everybody, but not me. I could never seek out God, even if I wanted to. I don't have that option because I'm selling my soul. Again, I'm 13 years old and not the smartest,
Pretty bad head trips they're playing on you. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Well, you're 13 years old. What do you know? Think about any 13-year-old you know now. I mean, they know everything in the world. They know it all and you know nothing. And, we know that's the opposite of true. So at 13 years old, and I signed this document. You get baptized into a vat of fixed blood, human blood, and human urine, full submersion. They pull you back up. You're in a white robe at that time, signifying that you're losing your innocence.
You you say human blood, are we talking about human sacrifice blood?
No, it would be like my blood and the blood of my sponsor. You just like cut your thumb and put it over into the...
All right, token stuff. All right.
Right. Then you go into another room and take a shower, come back out, and you've got a black robe on, and the cowl is raised up, and you sit in a chair, and they hand you a crucifix inside of a wheel. You can take the crucifix and spin it in this wheel, and they read off the document that you signed the night before. You show everybody your thumb is bandaged, so you obviously signed this in your blood. And then they have you spin the crucifix upside down, which is a sign of human sacrifice. You grab the arms and you break them downward, which is symbolic of denouncing Christ. And then they take this document and they entwine it within the crucifix you just did. If you have an imagination, you can picture the crucifix and the wheel upside down and the arms are broken. It now looks like a peace sign. And they claim that they put this document with the wheel into a vault and your soul is attached to it and you can never get this back. And then there's a party afterwards and you're officially a Satanist.
Oh, and a good time was had by all, I see.
And a good time was had by all.
Yeah. All right, now I want to back up here, just rewind a little bit. It says you have broken all 10 commandments by the age of 15.
Right.
Thou shalt not kill?
I did an abortion when I was just before turning 15.
Was this a medical procedure or something more grotesque?
The medical procedure itself is pretty grotesque.
You got it. I mean, what training did you have to do something like this? How were you told to accomplish this?
When I was 14 years old, when I had just turned 14, we had a sex party with all the male members, 12 to 15, and a female coven member that was over the age of 18. And the purpose was to make her pregnant. And I was told that in 8 or 9 months we were going to have an abortion, and they wanted me to participate in it. And I was, like first hearing this, I'm like, cool. Then I went home and I was like, hey, I looked this word up. I don't know what this means. My parents whispered the word abortion one day, so I thought it was a dirty word. I looked it up in the dictionary, and that was no help. And so I went to the library and looked up books on abortion, but they're like 500 pages thick, and I'm like, I'm not reading through that to find out, what it is I need to know. So I went back to the coven, and I was like, hey, I was told I'd have to participate in an abortion, but I don't know what that means. So they explained that you're killing a baby inside the womb. And I was like, okay, is that legal? And they're like, well, as long as it's inside the womb, it's legal. When you can't do it is when it comes out. Then it's murder. So
oh, really?
Perfectly fine. So, I was like, okay. So the night that we're doing this, we're in a private farmhouse, which is so sterile. I mean, it's more sterile than a lot of abortion clinics I have been in, past that point. So there's the 13 top members of our coven have surrounded this woman that's on a birthing table. Her legs are open to her. I am in the inner circle of that with the abortion doctor, and there's an abortion nurse. We have all of our medical equipment is there. We have the male members of the coven are dressed in their robes and they're chanting or doing spells. There's the female members of the coven are nude on the floor, swaying, they're chanting our bodies ourselves. And by the end of this procedure, they all look like they're possessed. Their eyes are like rolled into the back of their head, and they're looking pretty crazy and scary. My training for all this, I know you asked that, my training for this was that I was given a scalpel, and I was told to practice with either a ball of Play-Doh or like an apple or an orange, and just practice at stabbing with this. But it's stabbing with one hand and holding the left hand around the scalpel so I don't damage the woman. You're there to kill the baby but not hurt the woman. But as the magic practitioner, the person that's supposed to be doing this, like the magic spell, your job is to get your hands bloody. So whether it's the woman's hands or the baby, you just have to get blood on your hands. It's like just it's a blood pack, basically. So I guided my hands in, had the scalpel. I didn't really feel anything that I was supposed to poke. They're telling me that the baby was there, but I'm not feeling anything. So I just pulled my hands out. I didn't say anything. Both my hands were bloody, so I guess they thought, well, okay, he's done his job. I may have stabbed the baby. I can't guarantee it, but my job was to participate in the abortion. So that I did, and that unfortunately counts because everybody in that room gets credit for that abortion because we were all there for that purpose. And I pulled my hands out. The doctor finished the procedure. Then he reached in with seemed like tongs with teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Reached in, ripped the baby apart pretty much, threw the body parts to the women that were swaying on the floor, and the baby got cannibalized or eaten, for the people that aren't familiar with that term.
And these are younger women.
These were women probably about 16 or 17, up and probably into their 50s.
Pretty wide array. This is a pretty horrific description of something that doesn't go on infrequently in this culture, in this world of ours. There's a lot of this going on. Would you hazard a guess how widespread this kind of thing is?
This is extremely widespread. And this kind of thing happens. Imagine that from 1973 till now, there's been 53 million babies aborted.
Right.
Satanic groups are going to Planned Parenthood. I mean, as of a couple of weeks ago, they did a demonstration outside of one, and they're constantly coming out saying that they're, I think in Missouri, they're suing the governor of the state because a woman went there to get an abortion on demand, and they denied her. So they told her that it was she announced to them that this is violating her rights because it's violating her religion's rights because she's a Satanist, and that they have no right to put their morality laws on her body. Huh. She has the right to get an abortion whenever she wants. There's tons of stories out there of Satanists or witches that have worked in abortion clinics.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I imagine that there might be somebody that has opened an abortion clinic that did it just for money. But it seems to me that even you're killing a baby for money, that seems pretty nefarious.
You might say that. You also get the impression here that Planned Parenthood, there's something pretty dark behind that whole movement. Certainly, obviously, capably there. I
mean, the majority of the demonstrations, whether you're Christian and you're boycotting them, or you're a Satanist, and you're going there for a demonstration, or like the same weekend that the Satanists made their demonstration, the Wiccans went there and said that it was a woman's sacrament to get an abortion. All that stuff happens at Planned Parenthood. It's like the center hub of all of this that happens. I mean, there's almost every doctor can perform an abortion, and there's other clinics besides Planned Parenthood that do that.
Right.
Yet they're the ones caught in the scandal.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And there's so much more to it. They're just a major cog in a very big wheel. We are out of time, and I would like to again invite you to come back. This story is longer. Just to remind you that Zachary, 25, how many years at Zachary at Bohemian Grove? 15 times? Yeah. Over 15 times at Bohemian Grove, 26 years in the occult altogether, and then Zachary became a warrior for Christ and shares his knowledge for the protection of God's people. We'll talk more in the future. Would you come back, Zachary, and finish this story?
Absolutely. If anybody wants to know anything else, they can go to allsaintsministry.org.
All right. Thank you very much for that, and we will talk again.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.
All right, Zach. Good night.
Night.
Okay, that's hour one, and I wasn't ready for that, but there it is. And we will finish the story with Zachary. Probably take 2 more visits, but we'll work him in here later on this month. Okay, back in a couple of minutes with hour 2. Stay with us.